There is a tension I find at church between being relevant and being helpful. I appreciate that at church sometimes we deal with contemporary issues. Earlier this year we dumped our planned service to do something on the bushfires. Our first live stream service that we didn't pick up in Acts, we did something more on the topic of trusting God in our time. Now, it is good to address our current situations. It gives us answers and help in dealing with the issues that we encounter. But sometimes the immediate media cycle can drown out the more important. That is why at youth group we kept with our series on John, where we were looking at Jesus. Earlier this term, something really struck me in John 5, where Jesus heals this lame man who hadn't been able to walk for 38 years. At the end of the story, Jesus tells this guy that he should stop sinning or something worse may happen to him. What is worse than not being able to walk for 38 years? Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount that it is better to lose your eye or hand than for you to end up in hell. This is frightening. Our territory went into a state of emergency earlier this year because the fires came close to us. We are again in a state of emergency because of this virus. Like the fire, our news and Facebook feeds is filled with information about this. Our Prime Minister comes out and addresses our nation a few times a week, and we are all learning about the case numbers in different areas, locally and globally. We are all concerned and worried, and yet I think Jesus says that there is something worse, and that there is no one in the media talking about it. Only the church is. So sometimes the church may seem to be out of touch, as they aren't addressing what everyone else is talking about. This is because there are more serious things that everyone else is missing. And in the skipping over the immediate, I think the church becomes even more relevant. I came across this verse as I read through my Read Through the Bible plan, and I thought it was very relevant to our situation. It's Jeremiah 2:22. Although you wash yourself with soap and use abundance of cleansing powder, the stain of your guilt is still before me, declares the sovereign Lord. The truth is that no matter how hygienic you are still stained by sin. The world is fallen, and we see its corruption and decay, and we are not exempt from our fallen world. We are all guilty before our holy God. And Jesus warned us and showed us how serious our guilt was. That is why we call this Friday Good, because on the cross we see Jesus taking our guilt, being stained by our sin, and in return we are seen as pure and innocent by God. There is a fate worse than death, and apart from Christ, we are all going there. This Easter, may you see how deadly serious sin is, and how deeply God has showed his love for you by saving you from a fate worse than death.